Good morning, students. So, this is session 3 of 7th standard social science, history first unit, sources of medieval India. So, before entering into the topic, students, I hope you are maintaining a separate note for social science. So, listen carefully to this session. In case of any doubt, make a note of it, which shall be clarified on the day of reopening. So, let's enter into our lesson, today's lesson. So, in session 1, I've explained you about the definition of history. So, history is study of past events in chronological order. And then I've told you about the classification of history. So, based on the time intervals, they are classified into ancient history, medieval history, and modern history. So, in this unit, we are going to see only about the medieval history. So, which is further classified into early medieval and later medieval. So, in ancient history, we can know about the prehistoric people lifestyle. In medieval history, we can know about the Rajputs till the great Mughals like Akbar, Babur, Aurangzeb. And then in modern history is the time period between your advent of Europeans and your independence struggle. So next I told you about the sources of history. So source means it is the evidence or proof or information collected by the historian. Historian means the person who writes the history. So we have two types of source, primary source and secondary source. So primary source are the first hand source. That is some inscriptions, coins, monuments, they are the raw materials which provide valuable information. Whereas secondary source are some written works. Next, in session 2, I've explained you about the primary sources in detail. So I've told about inscriptions. So inscriptions are writing engraved on solid surface. I've mentioned you Uttaramerur inscription of Kanchipuram district. It provides details about Kudavolai system. Then I told you about the coins. So coins provides the economic condition or economic status of particular territory or dynasty. Next, I told you about the monuments. So, monuments provides details about the art and architecture style. So, especially during the Delhi Sultanate, during the Sultanate period, they introduced new form of architecture like domes, minars, minarets. So, I gave a pictorial representation in session 2 video. So, I'm just recalling it. Now, today we are going to see only about the secondary source. So, today's topic is only about secondary source. So, secondary source are the writings or some books which gives information about the past events. So, let's see. So, before entering into that, I'm repeating source, definition of source. So, source means it is a evidence or a proof collected by an historian with much efforts. So there are two categories, primary and secondary source. So today we are going to see only about the secondary source. So these are the types. Example, your textbooks, pictures, drawings, some historical novels or some short movies. So these are all the types of secondary sources. So first one is your religious literature and secular literature. So before seeing the examples of religious and secular literature, first you have to know the distinguish between the both. So religious means it is based on some particular religion, whereas secular means it is not based on the religion. For example, your Ramayana, Mahabharata, Bible. So these are all based on particular worship or particular faith or particular religion. Whereas some works like Shakespeare, Tolstoy, so these works are some historical novel. So they and all provide details about the rulers and their achievements and the war which they fought. So every details are collected in that book. So that is not religious oriented. So those type of literature comes under secular literature. So I hope you are clear between the religious and secular literature. So religious means based on particular religion, whereas secular is not based on particular religion. So now let's see the examples which are mentioned in your textbook. So first is Chola period is known as the period of devotional literature. So this may be asked in one word. So whose period is known for devotional literature means it is Chola period. So some examples which are given in your textbooks are Kamba Ramayanam, Nalayira Divya Prabandham, which was composed by 12 Alvas and compiled by Nadamuni, and then Tevaram, composed by Appar, Sambandar and Sundarar and compiled by Nammiyandar Nambi, then Manika Vasagas Tiruvasagam, then Kabir Das is called the mystic poet, and Jayadeva's Gita Govindam. So these are all the literature works based on particular religion or particular god. So let's see the pictorial representation. So this is Kamba Ramayanam. So it tells a story about Ramayana. And then Nalayira Divya Prabandham. Then Tevaram, Tiruvasagam, Kabir Das. So Kabir Das is known as the mystic poet of 15th century, and he wrote a book called Adi Granth. It is focused on Sikhism. So it may be asked in one word, who is called the mystic poet of 15th century means it is Kabir Das. So he wrote a book called Adi Granth. So he was involved in Bhakti movement. Then Jayadeva's Gita Govinda, it provides detail about the Lord Krishna avatar. So I hope you are clear about the religious literature. So it is based on particular god or particular faith. So now let's move on to secular literature. So secular literature, as I told before, it is based on some king's achievements, the war which he had fought. So everything. So let's see the examples given in your textbook. Madura Vijayam of Ganga Devi, Amutka Malyata, poems of Krishna Devaraya, Chan Bardai's Prithivraso, Kalhana's Rashtrangini. So Madura Vijayam was written by Ganga Devi. So Ganga Devi is the wife of Kumara Kambana. So he belonged to Vijayanagar kingdom. So he was a ruler in Vijayanagar kingdom under Sangama dynasty. So in those period, the Madurai was ruled by Delhi Sultans. So they are Muslim rulers. So this Kumara Kambana, he went and conquered the place. He captured the place and then he started to rule Madurai. So those achievements were written by his wife in a book called Madura Vijayam. So I hope you are clear why the book got its name Madura Vijayam. Because Kumara Kambana, he captured Madurai from the Muslim rulers, that is Delhi Sultans, and he began to rule the place. So this achievement was mentioned by his wife in her book called Madura Vijayam. So next is Krishna Devaraya's Amutka Malyata. So that is a Telugu version. So Krishna Devaraya is one of the ruler in Vijayanagar kingdom belonging to Tuluva dynasty. So his achievements was mentioned in a poem called Amutka Malyada. And next is Chan Bardai's Prithviraj Raso. So Prithviraj Chauhan is a powerful ruler of Chauhan dynasty. He belonged to Rajput and he defeated Muhammad Gori in a battle called Battle of Tarain. So all his achievements were mentioned by Chan Bardai in his poem called Prithviraj Raso. So which you will get to know in the forthcoming lessons about the Prithviraj Chauhan. So next is Kalhana's Rashtrangini. So it tells about the pre-Islamic period. Now let's see the meanings. So first one is Tabakat. So Tabakat is a Arabic word which means generations or centuries. So Tabakat means generation or centuries. Tusk. So Tusk is a Persian word which means autobiography. So Tusk is a Persian word which means autobiography. Tariq or Thaqu. Tariq or Thaqu is an Arabic word which means history. So children, this may be asked in one verse. So make a note of it. So now let's move on to biographies and autobiographies. which is one of the important secondary source to know about the medieval history. So before entering into that, first you have to know the difference between the biographies and autobiographies, so which I have explained in session 1. So now I am repeating it again. So biography means if some other person writes others' achievements, then it is called biography. Autobiography means if they write it on their own, means that is called autobiography. So I gave one example like Abdul Kalam's Wings of Fire. So now let's see some biographies and autobiographies which were written during the medieval India, that is during the medieval history. So let's see. First one is Tabakat-i-Nazari. So here Tabakat means what I told. It is centuries or generations. So Tabakat-i-Nazari, it provides detail about the conquest of Muhammad Ghori. So in first session I told Muhammad Ghori was the one who started slave dynasty in India. So he appointed a slave called Qutbuddin Aibak as Delhi Sultan and returned to Afghanistan. So I hope you remember that. So Tabakat-i-Nazari was written by Minhaj-us-Siraj. Minhaj-us-Siraj. So it provides detail about the conquest of Muhammad Ghori. So next is Tajul Mazir. Tajul Mazir provides details about Qutbuddin Aibak. So he was the first Delhi Sultanate and the slave of Muhammad Ghori. So don't forget this. So this Tajul Mazir book was written by Hasan Nizami. It was written by Hasan Nizami. Next is Tarikh-i-Feroz Shahi. Tarikh-i-Feroz Shahi. It provides details about the Delhi Sultanate named Ghiyasuddin Balban. So it was written by Ziauddin Barni. Next is Tarikh-i-Frishta. Tarikh-i-Frishta. It provides detail about the rise of Mughal power in India. So it was written by Frishta. Then Babar-Nama. So Babar-Nama is an autobiography written by Babar. So it is an autobiography of Babar. It contains all the life history and all the achievements, the wars fought by Babar. So next is Hain-i-Akbari. Hain-i-Akbari or Akbar-Nama. It provides the biography of Akbar. So it was written by Abdul Fazil. Next is Tazk-i-Jahangiri. It is the autobiography of Jahangir. So children, note here, Babar-Nama was written by Babar. So it is called autobiography, whereas Akbar's story was written by Abdul Fazil. So it is a biography. And Jahangir's story was written by Jahangir. So it is a autobiography. So I hope you are clear with the biography and autobiography which are mentioned in your textbook. So now let's move on to travelers and travelogues. Let's see the definition of a travelogue. So a travelogue includes detailed information about the travel. For example, if a foreign traveler visited India means he will explore the places and he will find out the culture practice in the society and the geographical feature of the society, the climatic condition and the economic condition, the trading policy, everything he will mention in a book called travelogues. So to make it simple, a book written by a traveler is called travelogue. So now let's see some travelogues which are mentioned in your textbook. So first one is Marco Polo. So Marco Polo, a traveler from Vietnam. So he is a Vietnamese traveler. So he visited Pandya kingdom and he landed at Kayal. Kayal is a port at Thoothukudi district. So he landed twice at Kayal port. Then Al-Buruni. So Al-Buruni, he accompanied Muhammad of Ghazni. So he came along with Muhammad of Ghazni. So Ghazni is a place in Afghanistan. So he wrote a travelogue named Taqiyyu-i-Hind. So the travelogue written by Al-Buruni is Taqiyyu-i-Hind. So he discussed all the Indian conditions and the system of knowledge and the social cultures and the religion practice in India. So he learned Sanskrit and studied philosophy of India. And next is Ibn Battuta. So Ibn Battuta is an Arab-born Morocco scholar. So he wrote a travelogue called Rihala. So Rihala means the travels. So it contains the rich details about the people and the countries he visited. So according to him, according to Ibn Battuta, Egypt was the rich country because all the Indian trade with the West was passes through Egypt. So according to him, Egypt was the rich country, and in his book he mentioned about the caste system in India and the practice of sati, and he described Delhi, city of Delhi, as a vast and magnificent city. So it was those days where Sultan Muhammad bin Tughlaq transferred the capital from Delhi to Devagiri. So Devagiri, again he changed the name Devagiri to Daulatabad in the south. And next, Abdul Razak, and then Niccolo Conti. Niccolo Conti is an Italian traveler, and Domingo Pius is a Portuguese traveler. So Abdul Razak visited India in the year 1443 and Domingo Pius in the year 1522. So these three travelers mentioned about the Vijayanagar Empire. So these three travelers mentioned the Vijayanagar kingdom in their travelogue. So children, I hope you understood this session. So now let's look at this mind map. So today we have seen about the sources of medieval history. In that we have seen only the secondary sources. So secondary sources are some written evidence which provide the proof for the past events. So it is further categorized into religious literature. Religious means based on particular religion. For example, Kamba Ramayanam or Nalayira Divya Prabandham. So it is based on particular god. So, and the Chola period is known for devotional literature. So keep this in mind. And second one I told is secular literature. Secular means the book written based on the king's achievements or the king's conquest. So that is called secular literature. Next is biographies and autobiographies. So I have given the examples which were mentioned in your textbook in a tabular column. So next is travelers and travelogues. So travelogue means a book written by a traveler. So for that also I have given a tabular column. So now let's see some textbook pages. So children, this is your index page. So this is the lesson, first lesson of history, sources of medieval India. So now this is your unit name, sources of medieval India, page number 110. Page number 110. So in first session I've told that early medieval period. So your medieval India is classified into early medieval and later medieval. So early medieval comes under the time period of 700 AD to 1200 AD, and later medieval comes under the time period of 1200 to 1700 AD. So next I've told about this Kafi Khan court. So this is the court of Kafi Khan. He is a courtier of Emperor Aurangzeb. So he told that an historian must give a sincere report. In first session I have explained you that. Next, we have seen the types of source. Sources are the supporting materials or the evidence. So it is classified into two types, primary and secondary source. Next is your page number 111. So in that I have explained you about the examples of primary and secondary source are inscription, monuments, coins, and secondary source examples are literary works, chronicles, travelogues, biographies, and autobiographies. So this is about your inscriptions. So inscriptions are writings engraved on solid surface such as rocks, stones, temple walls, and metals. And then the five types of land gifted by the Chola kings are Vellanvagai, it is a land gifted to non-Brahmins; Brahmadeya, land gifted to Brahmins; Shalaboga, land for the maintenance of a school; Devadana, land gifted to temples; Pallichandam, land gifted to Jaina institutions. So I hope you remember this in our first session. Next, I have told about the Uttaramerur inscriptions located in Kanchipuram district, which provides detail about village administration. So this is your copper plate inscription. And then monuments. So monuments like temples, palaces, mosques, forts, minars, minarets. So Delhi Sultan, they introduced a new type of architecture called domes, minas and minarets. So I gave a pictorial representation in our first session. So next is page number 112. So in that I have told Khajuraho monuments located in Madhya Pradesh, Konark in Odisha, Dilwara in Mount Abu, Rajasthan, and some temples in Tamil Nadu are Tanjavur Brihadishwara temple and Gangaikonda Cholapuram and Dharasuram temple. And then Hampi in Karnataka provides detail about Vijayanagar rulers. I hope you remember that, which I took in the second session. Next, about the important mosque, Quaithul Islam, Motki Masjid, Jama Masjid, Fatehpur Sikri Darha. And then some important forts, Agra Fort, Chittoor Fort, Gwalior Fort and Delhi Red Fort. Next, about the coins. So coins provides details about the economic condition of an empire. Next is page number 113. So in 113, so I've told about Muhammad Ghori. He stamped the figure of goddess Lakshmi in his gold coins. And then copper jittels provides the study of Delhi Sultan. And silver tanka was introduced by Iltutmish. Then Alauddin Khalji's gold coins. Then Muhammad bin Tughlaq copper token currency. Then in second session I've told about a jittel contained 3.6 grains of silver and 48 jittels equal to 1 silver tanka. Next is, in today's class we have seen religious literature. So religious means it based on particular worship, based on particular bhakti movement. So Chola period is well known for religious literature, that is devotional literature, and works such as Kamba Ramayanam, Sekirar Periya Puranam, Nalayira Divya Prabandham, composed by 12 Alvas and compiled by Nadamuni. So it may be asked in a definition or 2-mark question. And then Devaram was composed by Appar, Sambandar and Sundarar and compiled by Nambiyandar Nambi. Then I told Kabir Das is the mystic poet of 15th century. He was involved in Bhakti movement in India. Then I told about secular literature based on the king's achievement. For example, Madura Vijayam, Amutka Malyada of Ganga Devi and Krishna Devaraya, and Chand Bardai's Prithviraj Raso, and Kalhana's Rashta Rangini. Next, about the books, biographies and autobiographies. I gave you a tabular column, so go through that. And then page number 114. So in page number 114, you can see the meaning of the words. Tabakat. Tabakat is an Arabic word meaning generations or centuries. Tusk is a Persian word meaning autobiography. Tariq is an Arabic word meaning history. And then they have given some biographies and autobiographies. So for that also I gave the tabular column. And then travelers and travelogues. Travelogue means a book written by a traveler. Examples are Marco Polo, he is a traveler, Vietnamese traveler. He landed twice at Kayal. So Kayal is located in Thoothukudi district of Tamil Nadu. Then I have told about the Al-Burini. So Al-Burini, he accompanied Muhammad of Ghazni. So he wrote a book called Taqiyyu-i-Hind. Then Ibn Battuta. So Ibn Battuta is a Arab-born Morocco scholar. His book name, his travelogue name is Rihala, meaning the travels. So he mentioned the Egypt as a rich country and he tells the caste system in India and practice of sati. Then, so he is Ibn Battuta. And then in page number 115, we can see Abdur Razak, he came from Central Asia. And then Domingo Pias is a Portuguese traveler, he came to India in 1522. Abdur Razak came in 1443. An Italian traveler named Niccolo Conti, he came in the year of 1420. So these three travelers told about the glory of Vijayanagar Empire. So with this session, your first unit, that is your sources of medieval India, is completed. So children, now let's see some evaluation questions related to this session. So if you have any doubt, you can go through the whole session once again. So, who is known as the mystic poet of 15th century? Which traveler visited Pandya kingdom? Prithivraso was written by Krishnadevaraya wrote a book called and defined a travelogue. So, answer all these questions in a notebook which you are maintaining for social science. So, children, hope you understood this session. So, with this session, your unit 1, that is your sources of medieval history, is completed. So, once again, you can go through all the 3 videos, that is your session 1, 2 and 3 with reference to your textbook, and read out the lesson once again and try to answer all the book back exercise questions. Thank you.